Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Preston here. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. Welcome to my million subscriber special, Draw My Life. I've been wanting to do one of these for a very long time, but thought I had to wait for a very appropriate moment or milestone in my YouTube career, and what better way to do it on a million subscribers. Just wanted to say thank you all from the bottom of my heart. You will never understand my full gratitude and how blessed and how thankful I am to be in this position by all of you guys, my friends, my family, and God. You guys are all just amazing, and I hope you guys continue to stay that way. And this video somehow, maybe motivates and encourages you guys to follow your dreams and to overcome any tough situation that comes your way, because no matter what, you've always got what it takes and you can get through this. So this is going to be my Draw My Life, PrestonPlayz, or TBNRfrags. As you guys know, I do have two of those handles, so let's get right into it. I was born and raised in Texas. I love it here. The South will always be my home. It's a great place to live. I could never really see myself living anywhere else except for maybe a short period of time, but no matter what, Texas will always be my one true home. So I was born into about a medium-sized family. It was my dad, my mom, and my two older brothers, David and Daka. Now, I was the middle child, aka the wild child. The middle child is always apparently the craziest one. And then my sister was born, and she's the only sister, the only girl in the entire family out of all my brothers and sister. She was redheaded, which was a big surprise. And there's my two younger siblings, Caleb and Joshua. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but I was actually adopted by my dad at I was 3 months old. He's never treated me like I was adopted. He always treated me like he was my real biological dad. Of course, my mom was my biological mother, but a lot of people think, hey, doesn't it make you sad that all your siblings are half-siblings and you have two siblings who aren't even related to you and you don't even have a real dad? But honestly, I was the happiest kid alive. I had the best parents, and my dad was amazing to me that I never even thought about who my real dad was or even wanted to meet him. For my 4th birthday, my mom bought me the Sega Genesis console with the original Sonic the Hedgehog video game, which started my never-ending gaming addiction. Now, apparently I was so good at this game that none of my older siblings or cousins or aunts or uncles or parents could beat me at it. They thought there was something wrong with me. They were like, he's just too good at these video games. I don't think that's healthy. But you know what? They kind of ignored it and moved on. Now, I spent most of my time with my two older brothers. They were my favorite people in the entire world to see. I loved them so much. Now, by the way, that is a soccer ball because we played a lot of sports, or a football for you guys who live out there in Europe. But anyways, they lived with their, obviously their mom, and they came over on the weekends whenever they could. And whenever they had to go, it was the saddest thing in my entire, younger life. Now, we lived kind of out in the country, and we did a lot of crazy things. We would shoot bows and arrows at each other, BB guns, slingshots, you name it. My dad worked for the Air Force. He was an aircraft mechanic on jets, so he knew how to build some awesome bows, awesome slingshots, bought his BB guns. He was all for that kind of life, and he grew up in the country as well, and he thought there was nothing wrong with us doing that kind of stuff. But my mom kind of saw it the other way and decided to take away our bows and arrows and BB guns and slingshots after she started seeing us come in kind of bloody and bruised all the time. Fast forward to when I was 11 years old, things got a little bit depressing for my family and I. My dad had to go off to Iraq for the Iraqi Freedom Project because he was in the military, more specifically the Air Force, which means he had to go over there to work on jets. And it doesn't matter if he had a family of 4 back at home. When duty calls, he was a soldier, and I'm so proud of him for going off and fighting for our country. I could not be more proud of him, but it was very scary. We had no idea where he was going, how long he'd be gone for, and we only got phone calls every week because the military wouldn't let them call back home more than once a week. And it also did not help that at the time my mom was pregnant with our 5th expansion pack, my younger brother Caleb, which made her very, very worrisome. But of course, my mom and dad were absolute rocks and set a great example for me while they were gone. They pushed through it, and even though the time apart was very difficult for them, they were just the greatest parents that I could have ever asked for. But during this time, I decided to keep myself pretty busy with my favorite sport to this day. You guys guessed it, extreme paintball. It's when I first got into it when I was 11. Typically, in most states, you can't play it until you're 10. So, of course, being 11, I got to play it a couple times, and I got a taste of the adrenaline of shooting balls that go 200 miles per hour that hurt and bruise and bleed you. But it was the funnest thing ever. And, of course, paintball was very, very expensive. It was one of the most expensive habits I've probably ever picked up in my entire life. Even more expensive than smoking cigarettes. And smoking cigarettes is terrible. Thank God I don't do it. But this was a very expensive hobby, which means I needed lots of cash, man. I needed the cold, hard cash. And of course, my dad was gone. I was depressed. I wanted to keep my mind focused on happy things and productive things. So I decided to mow lawns, clean houses, paint, whatever I could get my hands on, I would do it. I printed out a bunch of flyers with my mom. I went and stuck it on everybody's mailbox, on their doors. I would knock doors and just say, hey, can I mow your lawn for 20 bucks every 2 weeks or whatever. And they were like, you know, a lot of times they were like, sure. And you know, I was about 11 years old, and it was definitely a hard job pushing an old lawnmower all the time. But it was a very rewarding thing, and it helped me save up enough money to go play paintball almost once a week, which was, at that time, my dream to be a professional paintball player. Shortly afterwards, I got really into computer gaming. A buddy of mine had a computer, and I played Battlefield 2142 on it, and it was like my first real PC FPS game. I was so hooked, it was unreal. So I decided to study computers because I didn't have the money to buy a pre-made one, and I learned that it was cheaper to make your own and also a lot more fun. So I took apart my parents' computer that they had just bought. It was like $1,000 at the time. They came home and they saw it and they were like, oh snap, what have we done? We've either raised a genius or an idiot who just broke our $1,000 computer that we just purchased. And of course I didn't break it, but thankfully, you know, I saved up a bunch, working hard, mowing lawns, doing whatever I could do to get enough money for these computer parts. I put them all together and it worked. My parents were super proud and super happy, and they were like, wow, our 12-year-old son built a computer from scratch, like, and he did it all by himself. We're so proud of him. It was a great feeling, and it was a great experience to learn how to do that. And then shortly afterwards, unfortunately, we had to move to Oklahoma from Texas. Now, Texas is actually right below Oklahoma, but my dad got a new job working for an oil rig company instead of the military. He actually retired from the Air Force. So he was very happy, and I was happy for him. Unfortunately, moving from Texas to Oklahoma meant that I would have none of my friends, and also the worst of the worst. And we're talking the worst of the worst. That is right, you guys guessed it. No internet. I mean, this internet, we had it, of course. It was called satellite internet. It was the worst internet possible. You could not play video games on it. You could not be in Skype calls. You could literally browse the internet at like the speed of a cockroach walking on the ground, which it was terrible. But thankfully, after a year, my dad moved back to Oklahoma, got a new job working for outside sales. Notice I didn't try to draw Texas and Oklahoma again because I'm terrible at drawing anything geographically. Now, I was very happy because of this. I was super, super excited to get back to Texas and to get back to seeing my friends and, of course, have internet. But now, of course, I needed a job. I needed something to do. I was 15. I didn't know what to do. And then my mom actually bumped into the head lifeguard at the military base where my dad used to work. And, of course, you know, we can still grocery shop there, and they're cheap groceries. And he was like, you should go get a lifeguard certification and come work for me. And so I did that. I worked for the military as a lifeguard. I saved up a lot of money over the summer. It was about 3 months of work. I saved up a couple $1,000s, and I bought a 1999 Cobra Mustang. It was like my baby. I loved that thing to death, and I could just not part ways with it. I know it might look like a spaceship on wheels here, but I promise you guys, this was my Mustang, and this was my baby. But unfortunately, she's now gone, and I own a Prius. Don't ask why. We'll get to that maybe later if I feel like I should get to that. Now, of course, I'm getting a little bit older now. I graduated a week after turning 17, so I almost graduated at 16. I did skip second grade, I believe. I probably left that out, didn't I? And I was very excited, except for the fact that I was also very depressed. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. I got into a lot of bad things. I thought, you know, I wanted to go to school to be a doctor, and I had all these high expectations for myself, and I really let myself down and the people around me down. It was a very unfortunate situation, and I honestly didn't really know what to do, and I got into a lot of bad stuff with a lot of bad people. So like most teenagers, I went to my mother. I've always been a mama's boy, and I needed help. I was stuck in a rut. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to turn my life back around, and my mom, of course, told me she loved me. She helped me out. She gave me the motivation and inspiration I needed to do something with my life instead of sitting around doing nothing and being miserable all the time, because nothing is worse than being miserable. You have one life, and you need to live it and be as happy as you can be and be as kind as you can be to other people. And that's when I started doing YouTube. It was a great outlet for me. I felt happy doing it. I was still looking for a job because I had nothing to do, and I really wanted to get a job, but at the same time, YouTube and Twitch were two of the most fun things in the entire world for me. And then Modern Warfare 3 came out, and there's this new thing called the Moab. You had to get 25 kills in a row to get it, and I apparently was really good at this, and people loved watching my Moab videos. I did one with every single gun in the game, and people were like, this is awesome. And then Machinima contacted me out of nowhere. These guys have over 1 million subscribers on their channel. They were like, do you want to do a weekly series and have your channel partnered with a contract? Just sign here. And I was like, Heck yeah, dude. I was like, I would be honored. And I honestly thought it was fake at first when I read the email. I was like, there's no way Machinima is reaching out to me. This has got to be a fluke. And I signed it, and this is when it started. I had about 2,000 subscribers or so when I joined with Machinima, and then within a year, it had grew to over 100,000, and this number boggled my mind. I did a Q&A with my dad, and it was probably one of the most fun videos I made. And at this point in my life, I was very happy because I found something I was really passionate about and something I was actually good at. A few months later, my parents moved out of the house that I started doing YouTube at, and I wanted to take YouTube to the next level. So I asked my parents if they'd help me look for an apartment. I had just turned 18 recently. I had money saved up from doing YouTube and live streaming while I lived with my parents, and they completely agreed to help me look for a place, even though they were very sad that I was moving out. And I learned the biggest mistake of my entire life, which is to never let your mom ever use her bank account to buy furniture, because she will buy every piece of furniture in the whole entire world. She'll make your apartment look awesome, but she'll make you go broke in the process. So I moved out to this gorgeous 3-story apartment in Texas, and even to this date, it was my most favorite place to live in my entire life. I've lived in probably 10 different homes before, and this place just really stuck out to me. I had so many awesome memories thanks to you guys and family and whatnot. It was just the coolest place that I could ever think of that I've lived so far. So around this time, living by myself, I had a lot of extra free time. I didn't have my siblings or parents around, and that's when I really got into my second channel, PrestonPlayz. And the game that stuck with this channel wasn't any of the other games I played, but it was Minecraft. You guys loved it. I loved it. I had so much fun with it. And around this time as well, when I moved out, I left my network, Machinima, to join IGN. It was a mutual thing. There was no hard feelings. It was just more of a growth opportunity type thing. And another YouTuber did the exact same as me, and I'm sure you guys know who he is. It's Mitch, otherwise known as the Beijing Canadian, which back then, he had about 100,000 subscribers, and now he has like something like 5 million subscribers. So anyways, back then when I met Mitch, I'd have only a couple of thousand subscribers on my second channel. I wasn't very big, but he was like, you know, hey, if you want to record some Minecraft stuff for your second channel, I'm totally down to. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. You know, being a Call of Duty channel, I had no idea that I could record with other people in Minecraft and upload it. It blew my mind, and I was like, there's like custom maps and custom mods, and like I was like, this is so cool. I was like, I freaking love Minecraft, and I met all these other awesome YouTubers thanks to Mitch, and I really owe a lot to him. So thank you so much, buddy. But then, alas, here comes the love story. So I thought I would never meet somebody until I was 25 years old. I always told myself that 25 is the exact age I wanted to get married and to settle down and to hopefully have some of my little own Prestons or my little own cactuses. And I met this girl named Sarah. Now, I thought she was the most beautiful girl I've ever seen in my entire life. I literally would go breathless anytime I would see a picture of her. It was just absolutely insane. She looked like a princess, like a queen. I personally believe at love at first sight. My parents believe in it, and I guess maybe they just kind of made me a hopeless romantic as well. But the unfortunate thing was that she lived in Canada, and I lived in the US. Not just the US, but I lived in Texas, all the way in the south, while she lived in the northern parts of Canada, which is super far away because I'm nearly at the border of Mexico, which is crazy, right? So we spent a lot of time talking on Skype before I wanted to, okay, I know it's weird. I asked her to date me online, whatever, you know what I'm saying? So a couple of months after dating online, I decided to take a plane to come visit her, and this was the most, oh my gosh, I had so much butterflies in my stomach, I thought I was gonna just start throwing up butterflies or something like that. It was a very long plane ride. I'd never been to Canada in my entire life. I was gonna stay up there with her parents for a week, and I was just so nervous. I was so scared. I was terrified. I remember the moment that I grabbed and held her hand when we were in the car driving back to her house after they picked me up at the airport, and it made me the happiest person in my entire life, and I just felt so calm and collected after that. And we watched The Walking Dead all night, and it was an amazing night. It was great. So after that, we had a big convention to go to in PAX, and of course this was about 4 months later. PAX Prime was happening in Seattle, which coincidentally was close to where Sarah lived up in Canada. And PAX Prime is this really cool gaming event, and there's always a lot of subscribers that show up and a lot of YouTubers that go, so it's just like a really fun get-together, and it's just really enjoyable. And I decided to go up to Sarah's house 8 days before, spend time with her, and then her mom drove us down because I didn't have a car up there, so she drove us across the border and down to hang out in Seattle and went to shop while we hung out at PAX. But of course, unfortunately, the time came to when she had to leave PAX and go back to Canada, and it was a very sad time because this was the second time I had seen her in 4 months, and I realized that I don't know if I can go with seeing her only once every 2 months. And it was just super frustrating, and it made us both sad, and I didn't know what to do. So I had this crazy idea, and I think you guys know what it is. A little light bulb just kind of ticked in my head, and it made us both incredibly happy, and it took me on the craziest adventure of my life. Thanks to you guys and YouTube, I was able to cancel my lease contract in the Texas apartment, and my crazy love-struck 19-year-old self thought it'd be a good idea to move all the way to Washington State by myself, where I had no friends or family other than you guys, of course, and my online friends. Sarah and her family were about an hour drive away from the apartment I was moving into, but I loved her so much, I just wanted to be with her at least a couple of times a week. So I told my parents about it, and they understood. They were very sad I was moving away, but they supported me nonetheless and helped me pack up everything into one moving truck. Then my dad and I made a 2-day straight trip from Texas to Washington, where we did not stop one night through a hotel, and we passed through states like New Mexico, Idaho, Oregon, all these beautiful places to Washington. It was the coolest drive of my entire life, but by the time we had got there, I'd been in the car for like 40 hours, and I was ready to pass out. So a little bit into living in Washington, something crazy happened with my channels. My PrestonPlayz channel actually overtook my TBNRfrags channel and it became like my main channel, so to say. I never thought in a million years that this would ever happen to my second channel. It was just a channel I was supposed to open up to have fun with, and I had no idea it would grow bigger than my main channel. And then also at this time, my brother Daka was stationed in Washington. He was in the Navy. He followed our dad's path and went into the military, and he had just gotten out. He was in the Navy for about 6 years, and so I told him he could come live up with me because I had a couple extra bedrooms. And he actually met his future wife here where I lived, and they ended up actually getting married a few months ago, and it was the cutest wedding I've ever been to, and I cried like a little baby. And I think to myself, had I never moved there to be with Sarah, Daka might have never found his future wife. So about a year later, it's time for my lease to get up in Washington, which means it's time to move back to good old Texas. The plan for Sarah and I was always for me to live up there for a year, and then us to move back to Texas together, and for her to get some kind of visa so she could come live in the States with me. And she's still working on that to this day, but we packed up the U-Haul, although I got a little bit wiser this time, and I had somebody else drive the moving truck for me to Texas instead of us driving it, because I was not down for that again. Doing it once in my lifetime was more than enough, but I was so happy to move back to Texas. It had always been my one true home, and my family were all very, very excited to see Sarah and I, and to finally be able to spend time with us once again. Now, the story is coming to an end, unfortunately, but when I moved back to Texas, my mom helped me find another apartment to live in, and this time it was on the 8th floor, the highest floor that they had. And you guys know how I love my stories, and it's all thanks to you guys. This is the most gorgeous place I have ever lived in my entire life, and honestly, by how pretty it is, I never thought that I would reach this in a million years, let alone by the age 20. Who would have known that one subscriber would turn into a million? I honestly was happy with 20,000 subscribers on my main channel, and I thought that reaching, anything over 50,000 was just going to be miraculous, and it was out of my reach. But I hope that this video motivates you guys to do something with your life, and to do what you love, and to follow your dreams, because you can always achieve them with the right amount of work, friends, patience, and determination. You guys can do whatever you want in your life, and I hope you guys reach for the stars and achieve all of your dreams, your hopes, and your aspirations, and you find the person that you love. And I just wanted to say, God bless. Thank you all so much for turning my life around and making it the best life I could have ever pictured for myself. I am honestly one of the happiest men on the entire planet, and it's all thanks to you guys. So thank you all so much, and I hope you guys have an awesome and wonderful, safe day, and I'll see you guys next time.